Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Fosi Audio V3 Mono, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Fosi Audio for providing the V3 Mono for review. Greatly appreciate it. Fosi Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Fosi Audio V3 Mono. It is currently up for backing on Kickstarter. Price ranges will be anything from about $150 all the way upwards beyond $500, depending on what options you choose and what project you want to back and all that kind of stuff. So check the link and then you'll see all the different prices. There's all kinds of different options that you can choose. Now keep in mind that this is a mono amplifier. So if you are planning to use it with a 2-channel setup, you're going to need 2 amplifiers. If not, it's going to be running in mono. The choices that you get are how many amplifiers that you want and different power supplies. Speaking of the power supply, Fosi Audio did provide this behemoth of a power supply. This is a 48 volt 10 amp power supply, and it weighs a lot. It's got a really nice long cord, which is nice. You can get 2 of these if you want. You can get 2 5 amp ones and run each one 5 amps in, or you can just use the big huge 10 amp one, which like I am, and then they send you this splitter, which you just plug in right here, and then it gives you 2 5 amps to go into each amplifier if you want to run it that way. So the options are plentiful over on Kickstarter, so check that out. Also, there's all kinds of other information on there regarding the devices themselves and talking about all the other internals and things like that, which I'm not going to get into a whole lot because I really don't understand it very well. And they explain it a whole lot better than I ever could. But a couple of things of note. So each one of these is 1 channel. So you would have one for your right channel and one for your left channel. And they have inside them Texas Instruments TPA 3255s for the amplifier chip. And they have 123 dB of SNR, 123 dB of dynamic range. They have a frequency response range of 10 Hertz to 30 kilohertz. Synad is 101 dB when you use XLR input and 93 dB when you use RCA. And it also has 240 watts per. So each one of these 240 watts. A 48 volt 5 amp amplifier. If you use a 32 volt 5 amp power supply, you'll go 100 watts, and that's at 4 ohm. But the 48 volt 5 amps, it comes out to be 240 watts at 4 ohms. All right, so the V3 Mono, very, very small. They fit in my hand. They look Fosi Audio-ish. You got these vents here on the side with the orange on the back, on the inside there, just looking really cool. On the front, you have a couple switches, and then on the back, you have your inputs and your output. So on the front here, you have a switch that changes between RCA and XLR input. And then you have a switch for off, auto, and on. On is it's always on. Auto is like standby trigger mode. And then off, you're off. On the back here, you have your RCA in and XLR in. And then you have your banana plugs, 5-way binding posts input, or excuse me, outputs. And then you have your 5 amp power in. And then up here you have a little gain switch, and the gain switch will give you on XLR 20 dB, and on RCA you get 25 dB and 31 dB. So there's a 6 dB difference when you hit that power that switch using RCA. Very, very simple device. Whoops, sorry. And they're not that heavy. They do have nice rubber feet here on the bottom. And as you just heard, they're all metal. Very well built. And if you have a small setup like I do at a desk and you want to run speakers and you want to run them mono, the V3 Mono won't take up much space, and it stacks, and the cabling won't get all jumbled and mussed up because it's pretty well spaced even on a smaller device. And so you can stack it on your desk and just run your little speaker setup, or you can put it in a bigger speaker setup and you know, separate them out however far apart you need them. The V3 Mono is pretty content on anything that I used with it as far as speakers go. I used it with the Martin Logan Motion 15s and the Wharfdale D310s, which you see behind me. And I found that the V3 Mono was a very neutral and clean type of sound. It had really good clarity and stayed very well controlled. And it portrayed DACs very well. So those subtle differences in DACs, whether it was a warm DAC or a more analytical leaning type of DAC or something a little bit brighter, I heard that. And it did a nice job of portraying the differences and keeping it subtle without over coloring things. And it just portrayed it as the DAC was presenting. It's a very clean, analytical, and neutral type of listen without being cold and sterile and just too forthright and aggressive. It has a nice balance between giving you the bite and the edge and the crispness without shredding your ears at the same time. Now that may differ depending on what speakers you're using. Also, as I mentioned, I only used the Motion 15s from Martin Logan and the Wharfdale D310. As far as DACs I connected it with, I used various ones. The Mytek Liberty DAC 2, the FIO K19, the FIO K11, the Auyun S9C Pro, and the Auyun X1S GT, and a couple others that have come through over the time that I've had the V3 Mono. And I was very content. I was rather impressed at how pleasurable, but yet how detailed and analytical sounding the V3 Mono is. Now, another nice benefit of the V3 Mono is you can change op amps, and I do plan on doing that. My friend Andrew over at Sparkos hooked me up with some different op amps, and maybe sometime down the road we'll do a video about the op amps and differences I hear in various gear that I have around the house. But at this time, I did not do that for this review. I just reviewed the V3 Mono as it is in this case. The V3 Mono has a nice authoritative, powerful, controlled type of sound signature with a nice emphasis on details and being analytical, being neutral, but yet at the same time, it has a pleasurable listen to it. And I was rather impressed by the V3 Mono from Fosi Audio. And in fact, the Fosi Audio V3 Mono, this is my favorite amplifier from Fosi Audio. Fosi Audio has done a good job keeping things clean, clear, analytical, but yet not aggressive and forthright. It's a very pleasurable listen. And if you're looking for a small amplifier mono setup that you could use at your desk with some desktop speakers, I highly recommend that you check out the Kickstarter for the Fosi Audio V3 Mono. I'm rather impressed. I'm sorry that this video doesn't have a whole lot of other flashy information or any comparisons to other things. This is the first experience I've had with mono amplifiers, and so I really don't have anything to compare it to. As far as other amplifiers, I didn't think it was fair to compare it to a standard amplifier, as they're not mono, and I've never ran them as mono. So this is my first experience with a mono amplifier setup, and I'm rather impressed. If you're looking for something to use on a small desktop setup like I have here, I highly recommend the Fosi Audio V3 Mono. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. Check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information regarding how you contact channel, follow channel, support channel. Speaking of supporting channel, I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all that you provide to the channel. It's much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's various ways that you can do that through Patreon and YouTube memberships and PayPal and Venmo and YouTube and all kinds of other things. So if one-time gifts, PayPal, Venmo, and YouTube are available. And if you're interested in monthly subscriptions, you can do that with Patreon and YouTube memberships, where you get extra benefits like early access to videos, and also you can get access to my private Discord server if you want to ask for that, and other benefits. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. Also down below, there's all kinds of other information like gear rankings and music recommendations and all kinds of other things. So check out the links down below. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.